Well, good afternoon, everyone. What a wonderful day, wonderful evening. It's been just a wonderful week, actually. The weather's been interesting, nice and warm, kind of like giving us that spring fever. However, we know that we shouldn't get too, used to spring weather yet because we still have some weather to come. So weather is starting to come apparently within the week. We're going to get back to our regular temperatures. But it's so nice that all of us are together. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with our series of our Mayan moon and cycle of ceremonies. So again, we're talking about the different moon phases that we're in. We're talking about um, the importance of this week and this period for the Mayan calendar, and also being Haudenosaunee, we have a cycle of ceremonies. So I'm talking about where we are in that calendar and that cycle as well. So we just like to kind of just open and, send everybody greetings of welcome and to let you know that this is really important information that we're sharing with you because we all know that things are changing, and the more that, oh shoot, and the more that we can know and the more that we can understand, then the easier it is for us to get through this chaos that a lot of people are experiencing right now. So tonight, I guess what we'll do is we'll start with the Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar, because it has such value in helping us to understand our path in life, and how to walk, and how to, I guess what it does is it creates that template for our wellness. So don't mind me here. I'm just noticing that my computer is needing a charge. So I'm just kind of doing that while Marcia takes it away.
Okay, yeah. Um, Greetings, everybody, and we're so glad you could join us again for continuing on this path of sharing the beautiful knowledge that has been passed down to all of us. And so, with the Mayan calendar, I'll just briefly say that it's a 260-day calendar. Then it repeats itself over and over. So what we're covering in these sections is what they call 13-day weeks. And there are 20 13-day weeks, which makes up those whole 260 days. And what it does, it really gives us a chance to review how it is that we're walking in our life each and every day, not just in ceremony, but always. And also what our connections are to the natural world, especially to the elements and the natural world and Mother Earth. So as we go through the 13-day weeks, it always starts off with the number 1 and works the way to 7, which is the halfway point, and it's a balance point. Then on that 13th day, it's the manifestation of whatever was coming forward in that cycle. So we're going to continue where we left off. And so I'm going to talk about the cycle that we're in right now. And it actually started on Tuesday, March the 5th. And it's a cycle of 13 days that starts with 1A. And what that is, it's all about the pathway that we're walking in this life. And it's about the road we're walking and what we're carrying with us to help us in our walk. What are we carrying? What's going to help us complete the connection to all of the elementals in the web of life? Because that's where we're going to end up at the end of this 13-day cycle, which goes right through till Sunday. So it's going to help us to connect our intentions, all of our initiations, our mental wisdom, our emotional wellness, and our spiritual awareness within this huge web of life. So we start off with that 1, and then on Sunday, March the 10th, which just passed, was the day of 6 Noch. That was also the new moon. And that was a time to give us to connect to the dimensional balance of Mother Earth and to ground our intentions with that wisdom and knowledge. And on Monday, on the March 11th, was that balance point of 7 Tihash. And this is the place where Tihash is about the obsidian blade, and it's about the way we communicate, how we express ourselves. And so the blade can be something that helps us to take things away if we wish. It can be used as a weapon, and they often say, think of that obsidian blade too as also being your tongue, so that the words you express are you expressing words of kindness and caring, because we don't want that blade to be used as a weapon unless we're absolutely having to protect ourselves. And so it's a good day to pay attention to the energies that can block you from getting to the place of purification, which occurred on Tuesday. That was 8 Kuuk. And that's purification. Kuuk has to do with a lot of times the water purification. So it could be sweat lodge, it could be showers, it could be baths, and putting beautiful things in the water that you soak in to help with that purification and that cleansing. And so it's very important to do these purification practices and to acknowledge the waters and thank them for that beautiful way that they have of helping us to purify. And you think of the water even coming as rains, coming down and washing the earth, and the mother gets to have a wash as well. So Wednesday, this past Wednesday on the 13th, was 9 Akpu, which was a day of really being able, after the purification, to create the way for that enlightened being that we are to really emerge, to come forth, but not quite all the way. And yesterday was all about the using our mind in a good way with the knowledge and wisdom that we have. So today on 11 Ich, it talks about that spiritual state. And so now that enlightened being can really step forward more fully into who they are. So that on tomorrow, the 16th, it's the day when you can really crystallize your visions, really to those places that aren't limiting. So really making your visions clear and known, and bring them into the light, so that on Sunday, the 13th day of this 13-day week, we can then connect with the whole web of life. However, it all depends on which path you decided to take on that first day on March the 5th. Because if you end up choosing a road that is not a good road, and that can include things like addictions, it can include the traps that we set up for ourselves, you can really lose your vision and can end up making violations, if not even just to yourself, but to others. But it's the day also that if you take that right path, the good aspect of what can happen, then you can step forward with the knowledge and wisdom that you carry, and really make a good difference, and be of good service to those around us. So the cycle that's going to come up now next on Monday, March the 18th, starting with 1 Khan, and it goes through right till Saturday, March the 30th, is that that cycle is all about, now that we've got that knowledge and wisdom, we're more comfortable with the energy, and remembering that energy, that cosmic energy, moves through everything. It moves through all things from the time of creation. So if you made good decisions in this previous cycle, and you make a good connection to the web of life, then you can use that energy properly. And so on Tuesday, it's a day of duality, where it's like going through a death process, but it's really because you have a willingness to let go of what's not serving you any longer. And then you journey right through to Sunday, the March the 24th, which is 7 Bats. So at that midweek point, you look at yourself and you decide, what do we do with what's coming from our life and what I'm experiencing? Really like assessing what your walk is, what your place is in this world, and how are you going to complete your spiritual journey? How are you going to carry on? You're kind of like halfway through this 13-day week, kind of like climbing halfway up the mountain. You may be tired. But this is where a lot of people will often kind of lose connection and give up. But if they stay with it on Monday, March the 25th, on the day of 8E, it's also the full moon. If they keep that connection strong and decide they're not going to give up, you can continue and complete this journey in a good way. So that on the following day, Tuesday, 9ach, you can really plant that staff to firmly birth yourself into that new becoming. What it is that you choose is sacred to you, what you're going to be doing in your life, so that you can receive the full knowledge and really know how to use it well. So on Saturday, March 30th, you receive it. And so with this now, you have the wisdom of the earth and the ancestors. So it's the universal wisdom. And from here, we can really understand better what needs to happen, what steps we need to take, and what steps not to take. And so that we don't misuse the knowledge we've been given, because Noch itself, even though it's wisdom and knowledge, you can have the knowledge. But for example, the world that we're living in right now continues to create things and to destroy things that are detrimental to this beautiful earth that we live on. And so that's not using knowledge wisely. So that's not wisdom. So we really want to be able to come from that place of wisdom with it and using it to the greatest good of all, because the Mother Earth and the cosmos and everything is out there to support us and teach us in this way. So I'm just going to briefly touch on that cycle that's going to come next, because in that cycle is also the time of the total solar eclipse. And so that one is going to begin on March 31st, which is on a Sunday. And it's going to start with the 1-Tehash this time. So if you've got that wisdom from the previous week, now you can communicate it. It's all about now being initiated to become that teacher, to share what you know, and to share how to become a community and become a family at the end of that 13-day week. So we're looking towards the dream of better cooperation, loving each other, and collaborating in peace, so that again we can create that state of oneness. So on Saturday, April 6th is 7-Kat, that midweek point again. And so now here we can again see that connection to the whole web of life. And whatever you do to the web of life, you do to yourself. And really understanding that it's not just about us, but it's about how we serve and how we respond to the sacred gifts that we've been given from the Creator and Mother Earth, and how we use that, what we can do to help to bring healing to the sacred hoop of life. Then on April 7th, 8-Con, we call it the place where you come into to the original instructions and the law of nature, so you can understand that more deeply and how to respect it and how to communicate it and share it. Then Monday, April 8th, 9 that's the day of the total solar eclipse. It's also the day of the new moon. And the energies are really strong right now, but on this day, talk about a transformation. This is the point of transformation, where you can really have the seeds planted for a new completion, a new beginning. And it's being able to transition of yourself coming into your new potential. it's like a transformation. If you think about how the caterpillar, who, starts out as this crawly little guy and then goes into a cocoon, not having fear about it and not knowing what's actually going to end up happening to it, because it's the first time it's happened to the caterpillar. So it goes into the cocoon, and what it emerges out is a beautiful butterfly on the other end. Now, that's much like our own transformation process. We don't often know what we're going to, how things are going to end up for us in the future, but we don't really know as long as we continue to carry our prayer and our trust in what it is that we stand for, around, again, servicing to help make the world a better place. So then on April the 10th, it's the day to find a way to make payment for any debts or violations that we may have done, and also to give thanks for all we have received. So it's about making gifts and gifting. So then on April the 11th, which is on a Thursday, 13C, that's all about the manifestation of that loving community, that loving family. It's all about the relationships. So instead of, carrying grievances, carrying anger, this is a good cycle to really wrap those things up so that we can really come to be a part of that beautiful family and community, so that we can end up serving the community better, the family, and all of humanity, and all the relations that we share this earth with. So I think this eclipse is just coming at a very powerful time of a lot of the energies that are happening out in the cosmos right now too, with astrology and everything. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'd really encourage you to read up around what is happening up there in the heavens as well, because it all has an influence on us as we walk this earth. So thank you very much for hearing this. And again, thank you for showing up, and to Grandmother Gail and Renee. Yes, pass the talking stick.
I really I enjoy this time with the three of us together because it's sharing and comparing and building and wrapping it up to give to the coming faces. And I like how I always think of the eagle and the condor and how we need to share these messages of these frontline workers, the days that we have. We didn't count them as days. We count them as the sun and the moon. We always had considered, it wasn't one or two or three or four. It was always where the moon was. And so we've forgotten how to relate to the moon. And back here in Canada, it would be the time, well, March, it when coming into April. And originally we would have the awakening of the trees. And the trees play a very important role in our lives, because each of us needs 13 trees. They are like a community and they support each other. And it's a reminder that we need to support each other during this time. Their message is how we have forgotten how to connect to one another. We have disconnected ourselves. You see their roots spread out. And those roots, it's just like the internet. And when they already know what's coming. The moon has told them, the sun has told them, and so they're wiser than us, and so they're getting ready, and they know how this change is going to be a bigger change than we think about, because it has been, the animals are also waking up and the plants are waking up because of this new change, the transformation of what is happening. And now we hear about the trees. Now a lot of people cut down their trees when these trees are the trees of life. These trees play a very important role in everyone's life. They are the ones that help us to ground ourselves. And I like how she was
speaking about emotions. And our trees were given to us as frontline workers. They were to help us to ground ourselves when, here comes winter and we're all been cabined and are inside, and then now it's time to breathe and come out. And so the tree tells us we need to shake off those energies that we have been closed in. It's time to renew yourself. How many of you have renewed yourself? They say January is a time of renewing your vows with creation. How many made a vow that you're going to do better this year? And so the tree, that's what I'm reminded of, because I'm getting into Gail's, I was thinking of the tree, how we use the paddle. Yeah. And renewing our life. And that's what that gift is. How many are you renewing your life? How many of you have taken that step to take off those things that didn't suit you well or has caused you a lot of pain? So the trees are really promoting it's time for change. It's time for a new beginning. And the trees talk about our relationship to one another, because underground they're talking and they're telling us what is happening with the people. The people have forgotten. And even the leaves, when you notice during when people are gathering and the trees are fully bloomed, they also listen. I want you to watch sometime. If you're out in the gathering and we're out on the land, and the trees they will be like all the leaves are moving and they're talking. And when a person gets up to speak, they're really still and they're listening to see if we remember, because they're communicating to us, but we're too busy. We're too busy to get ready for this change that's coming. And so now it's also, they're calling it the pink moon, but that is also April, and they talk about this pink. Now, what is pink? Well, you'll go into the waters, and it was the time of the fish, the suckers. They also tell us that we need to renew ourselves. How many of you are taking care of your water? Because you see, if we don't, as they say, if we don't take care of our waters, we become stagnant. And we always need that renewal of life. And so this is why I like that message from the fish. The message is to start moving. We've been we have become couch potatoes. We become very, very still in our lifestyle. Some of us are, yeah, not us, not us. That fish has woke us up, and we're just going down these many rivers. Yes, and so because we need to walk, we need to move, and that's what the fish are talking about. If you get out there at this time and early in the morning, you're receiving a lot of medicine, a lot of energy, a lot of power. And that's what the fish talk about with this water. And also, it's called the worm month, too. So we talk about what nature is doing. We talk about they are our teachers because they tell us what needs to be done. And even the worm, he moves around in the soil. And what he's doing is creating a healthier environment. He's bringing air into the soil. What he's doing is creating a environment that's going to have abundance. Are we doing that to ourselves? Are we creating air into our bodies? We've forgotten how to breathe. And that is so sad, because my grandma would say we're walking around on flat tires. And so we need to keep, as they say, know how to breathe, because even a fish, they say that once we were able to breathe underwater. Isn't that amazing? We had the ability to breathe underwater. And I like this avatar. They really have shown us um, how nature is very important part of our teachers, and they'll teach us how to survive. So what they're doing right now is saying, come on, get up, get up, get up, and make change. Because even the fish are like, The fish goes at the bottom, and he's stirring up all that silt that has settled down. And so that means what isn't unhealthy or not good for your environment. Let's do some house cleaning. You never thought of a fish teaching us about house cleaning, did you? Well, that fish, he goes at the bottom of the river and he makes sure that, you know, we're constantly cleaning because he cares about you. He wants you to have good water. And so this is why they are so amazing. When we hear, oh, it's a time of the fish, the pink, it's a time of the worms, people go, oh, it's time for fishing. While they don't go into depth, they don't go and understand why that worm is moving, why that fish is moving, what's his message for us. And so together we will learn to observe again. And that is one of the things we need to know is symbols. Just like Marcia had talked about those symbols. Symbols is that first language, and the animals are trying to really open up our eyes to see. That's why you'll see birds, and it's also a time. Some have referred it. It's a time when the crows have start the moon, and this is when the crows will start. You hear them more and more, and it also talks about us. It talks about removing out of us, bringing that voice out and speaking in that where because we have so many stories, and if we don't have enough time for me to tell that story of the crow and why it's black. But you see, the crow also reminds us in that story of peace. What are you doing for peace? And so when we hear that crow in early spring, this is what we need to be reminded of what are you doing for peace? And we all have to think about that. What are you doing for peace? Isn't it amazing what the animals are teaching us? How to be a good human being, how to take care of ourselves. These are the frontline workers, and this is such a recognition when we use their proper name of each moon time. And so this is what I have come to share. And I love how Marcia, we are connecting these two way of living. And now we're going to hear from Gail.
Well, you guys said everything that I'm gonna say. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so for our cycle of ceremonies, the first thing we're involved with at this time of the year is the closing of the tree. So we're, there was a time when the sap was going to give us that strength for the upcoming season, and that's when we, figure out that. Well, this one's well, this is a family place right now, so sometimes when you say you're on online, well, you get the added bonus of that family time too. And I'm just looking at myself, the beard. I notice sometimes I have horns. I was sitting there, I was moving my head, going, I've got horns. So, I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, so when we talk about the closing of the trees again, that's really significant because the it means that we're honoring the cycles of life, and so it's kind of like, okay, this is you have this the sweet water, and the sweet water is at the it's at a time when we're needing to renew ourselves and to give us that strength. And then we get to the point where, okay, so now it's time to move on because now you're starting to regain your strength. And so the important part of this is it also works with the cycle of the fish. And so we have to give thanks to the fish because uh, it's their duty to cleanse and purify the water. So we were talking about, the fish and the importance of, how it starts to move this time. But when I think of fish, I think of community. I think of schools, so that's one thing I always remember from my my school days, I guess, is how to classify fish. You start with that little minnow and you go up that fish cycle until you get to the whale, and in between all of that, it's like a very powerful chain, and that very powerful chain is necessary for the survival of the waters as well, because it's a cycle of balance. So as you move up that fish chain, there's this balance that happens, and so that it's great to like take those school memories and to like put them into a place that makes sense. And so also a community is about those fish schools that come, and and so as those fish schools are moving through, they're always being depleted because of the predators that stalk those schools too, as they go through the oceans and do their purification. So again, that's part of it's part of like this beautiful cycle that that helps us to understand both life and death as well, because we have to we ourselves have the ability to ask that fish for our sustenance, and it's an agreement that was made before, as the earth was being created. We're part of this balance too, of being able to they offer themselves to us, and then sometimes we offer ourselves to the water as well. And so, and I remember thinking of a story of the people who would be pushed off the boat. So they were on the gallows, and they were thrown into the ocean. But little did they know that that was predestined, because sometimes that ocean needs sacrifices too. So think of the power of that ocean. Think of the power of our lakes and our waters. They need sacrifices too. And so sometimes we are that sacrifice for those beings and those elements in the energy of that cycle. I It amazes me that all of these elements that we move through, the winds, the water, the air, what happens with the turmoil that the earth is going through, it's all a part of something so big. And we're just kind of like, we're here, we're just like little people. In the scheme of things, we're just like little ants, walking on the earth. We're doing a lot of these little ants certainly know how to do a lot of destruction, but and then I think of the ant society, like what those ant hills really consist of, and the working relationship that those ants create. And we have something to learn from that, the power of those ants, the power of those that live underground, the power of those working bodies. And so we also have to think about our working bodies. We're meant to be like workhorses. We're meant to work. We're meant to lift. We're meant to run. We're meant to be part of this cycle of life. And what's happened lately is we've kind of sacrificed that part. So again, just like sometimes we sacrifice, or the waters call us as a sacrifice, and sometimes the fish sacrifice to us. Well, it's part of a much bigger plan. So also when we talk about the fish, we have to think about the healing power of those fish, because I remember being told that there have been times when, given the right words and the right intention, that a fish will sacrifice its life to save you as a human being. If you put that intention out there, just like a tree will sacrifice itself in order to give you life, and it will lovingly die so that you may live. And in a way that is just so beautiful, when you think about all the power of understanding from a lot of different perspectives how we are to live our life. So when I'm thinking about the power of the whales, like right now we're thinking of uh, that massive energy. Oh my gosh. And whales have that ability, like dolphins, to um, relate to the world above. You know, all of those celestial beings. They're messengers. They're kind of like receivers, and so we really need them receivers to help keep us in balance as well. So when there's issues and we're overfishing and we're overhunting, just like we overhunt our animals in the forest, then we really don't know that we're affecting a big picture, a real big picture, and that when we when I especially liked my days out in Haida, because there were many times being out and seeing those whales and hearing those whales and being part of that environment. I can't even tell you how powerful that was. And it was all part of a growth and a learning experience that taught me to really respect the ocean. I remember that the ocean water was so cold. It was so cold I was afraid to put my foot in there because the ocean was so cold. But that was needed for all of those whales and all of that ocean life, and you know, the walruses, and you know, walking along the shore, and you know, paying attention to always be on guard, because those sea lions could literally take a boulder and throw it at you if you got too close. And so there always had to be that respect of you know, the sea life and the ocean life, and and I think that's something that we really have to pay attention to, you know. And a lot of people use fishing as a way to relax their minds. So they don't care if they catch a fish if they don't. You know, it's the act of being out on the water, being in tune and paying attention to the water, sitting there and listening to nature and to being in nature, relaxation, you know, just being. So that's a really important part of our healing, is to honor those waters and to honor that ocean life. And because like Grandma Renee said, there was a time when we could breathe underwater, and there are still different, I guess, peoples who live in the water more than they live on the land, and so that also comes to the story of mermaids, and how mermaids, the story of people who could live underwater, and they chose to live underwater more than on earth, and then they just started to live underwater, you know. And I really love those stories. And so you think of the Littlest Mermaid, and you think of Nemo, you think of all of these I guess cartoons that have more reality than we think, you know. And so we have to sometimes sit back, and we have to understand that whatever it is that we're interpreting, when we listen and we hear and we watch and we see, it's all part of something that is helping us to become even more connected to what's going on around us. So we're leaving the time of the fish, because now we're getting into the area of the plants. The plants, our sustenance, you know, that's our way to exist here at this time. And so we have to think about, you know, okay, planting those seeds. So soon it will be time for us to, you know, do those seed ceremonies, and it will be time to us to think about our plan. What is it that we're going to want to harvest? What sustenance is going to help us to fulfill our requirements? And we know through all of the activity that's been going on, this is a very important year. This is a year of big change. And I just remember hearing that, you know, there's going to be times when we really have to think about planting our gardens. And during COVID, it was really nice to see so many people had the time to plant gardens, and they did such a good job. I mean, you could go and you could see these beautiful gardens, and you could tell that they were well tended. And then, you know, people were able to get back to canning that they couldn't do or haven't had time to do or remember to do. So COVID played a really important part in saying, pay attention, listen, and be prepared. Way back, I even can't remember what year it was now, but we had the Sundance, and I remember when the all the electricity went out on the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
And again, that was a really powerful message too. That was the message to, could you survive? You know, could you live in those high-rise buildings? Could you manage if there was no hydro? And of course, we know what that answer is. You know, the first couple days, it's like, hey, party, party, hey, neighbor. And then it's like, okay. Then you start to get desperate. And so we hear of the time when people are expecting that we as indigenous people, we live off the lands and we had all of our food stores already. They're thinking back hundreds of years ago, the way it was then. And so they would look to come into our communities to you know, being desperate to, you know, feed themselves because they wouldn't have any other place to eat in their minds. So we have to really take the gardening aspect of each year seriously. And again, gardening is a beautiful way to share. So I have more tomatoes and you know I need some peaches or I need whatever is growing elsewhere and to take that and to make that into a time of sharing. And there's still a lot of communities who make sure that everyone has enough to eat, but there is more communities that don't. You know, so we look at those communities usually in um, smaller towns, and you know, smaller towns. It's really nice to live in a smaller town because a lot of times you know your neighbors and you have that open relationship with being able to provide and to share. But the more you tend to be towards the bigger cities, um, our, our our stories too tell us that it's not good to live in a city because once the concrete covers the earth can't breathe. And so those that live in concrete jungles, then their minds become dull. They become robots because the earth energies can't do their job and they can't feed and they can't relate and they can't, I guess, talk more to you. Like they can't connect with you. So as we think about these things and we think about the planting season that's upon us, this time we really have to be serious about it. And I really like to see the innovation that's going on with you know some of the high rises, how they now plant you know at that top story, and they have like all different ways to you know make their high rises ethically sustainable, you know, with food growing practices and you know different forms of heating and taking care of their spaces. So even though we're in a time of, I guess we're getting to the, I guess we everything has what we would call a life cycle. So the life cycle of destruction, I believe it's coming to an end because when it affects everyone, then everyone works to make things better. And so that means that we're now starting to look at ways to clean our air. We're now starting to look at ways to think about growing our food. We're now looking at ways to make life, I guess, simpler because simplicity is really the key to life. We put too much emphasis a lot of times on um, overthinking. So we simply plant a garden. We simply fish when we need to de-stress. You know, there are so many things that we just have to reevaluate, and so that we can become healthy. So that's kind of what this looks like. And so we also talk about the forest. So we were talking about the forest, and we were talking about the fish, and they both have such a powerful connection. Just like a school of fish is a community, so is a forest a community. And when there's violations on, within each of those realms, it not only affects one tree, it affects every tree. It not only affects one type of fish, it affects every fish. So the more that the lower fish are destroyed, well, that's destroys the food chain right up. And so we have to look at the forest and, everything that it offers too. It offers that community, it offers that safety. And when our forests are starting to get stripped, then we're we're doing destruction to ourselves. So I think we don't really like doing uh, destruction to ourselves anymore. And I think we're looking at the 7 generations ahead so that we can, put things into place where they're able to make a new life or a new community. And the other thing I like about the forest is the trees and the tree rings. What does the tree rings tell you? They tell you, they help you to see that there were trying times all the way through their life. So they also have a way of counting. So it's kind of like they're scientific in so many aspects. They have a history to tell, and so that's just like that's our I guess that's our science class, when we take nature and we and we start to learn, how to relate and how to move these things. So I kind of have said what this cycle is about, and we'll be moving on to a new cycle somewhere, I think, mid-April. And as we move into that cycle, we'll start to share, I guess, what's going on at that time of year. So I really like the continuation of the teachings, because as the more that you understand, the more that you understand that you have to make a difference. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is to help you see that we're united, and we have a very powerful message and a very powerful time ahead. And
Yeah. Especially with the eclipse, those are two powerful entities. They are the power that we need to make change, and they know of all this because nature's been talking. And
mhm,
nature, the trees and water, has all asking for help. They need our help, and because of this hasn't happened in a long time, especially to come directly over our area, because we held that time of the Great Law when we had to come together and change our way of life, change that frame of mind to have the good mind. And so here it is again. It's a reminder for the people we need to change. We need to bring back that goodness and kindness, because we come from that sky world. We come from that place of the universe. And this is why they're coming together. It's not a time for tourist attraction and get ready and watch it. It's a time of being humble, because at this time is it's a sacred time when these two entities are going to come and give us our power. So instead of looking up, let's have our heads down so that where they can reach that our birthing here, and so that we can receive their support and their understanding. And so to the indigenous people, it's not a time of tourism traction and buying these glasses and gathering around and having, it's a time of ceremony, because they know the condition where we're heading for. If we don't listen, I don't mean to frighten anyone, but they come here to help us. And so, in a humbling way, we put our head down to receive, because this is your birthing. And that's how we get our message. And you'll notice when you faint, you have that tunnel. And when you go to the sky world, that's that place where it comes from your birthing and goes up. So, one of the things is when this time comes, so let's pray. Let's use this energy of them, of those two entities that come to help us. They're family. The grandmother and the eldest brother, they know we need help to bring this in a better place of change. And so we've been told since 1969, we've been told in 2012, the end of the world, we've been told these things. Even COVID told us how to get ready, to learn how to get ready to go without. So in this way, we have to learn how to also relate to spirituality. And I love how Marcia really wraps it up and brings in that message of that relationship, how to make change within ourselves. What are we doing? What is our intention? What are we manifesting? So together, let's manifest that there's a balance in life, that there is no more, that peace, that no more destruction of the earth. So we are here as grandmothers because nature has been talking to us, and we need to listen to the universe. We need to listen, and that's why they're coming, is to help all of us to bring that manifestation, as Marcia had talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Reminding all connected. We are all one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this segment of Mayan Moon and Cycle of Ceremonies, and we'll be back next month to share even more. And so we really never know exactly how it's going to connect, but as we listen to each other, we just see how we're all on the same page. You know, we're all coming just from a different perspective, but we're all tying in kind of that same story. So I hope everyone has a beautiful evening and then enjoy the sunset or wherever you are listening from, and just enjoy the outdoors, no matter whether it's raining, snowing, whether it's windy, whether it's hailing, whether it's sunny and it's beautiful. Just be glad that you're still here and that you're part of that bigger picture. So I just realized that none of us have, through the series, have really um, introduced ourselves. And so,
Next
hi,
time.
I'm Gail. I'm from Six Nations. I'm Mohawk Bear Clan. But I just realized, that we haven't done that. So next time, maybe we'll start with, that introduction so that you'll know who you're listening to. Yeah.
Thank
We have so much message to give, we
Yeah.
forget to talk about
Yes.
who we
Yeah.
are.
Good thing we have these little name tags on here. You can kind of see. Renee's missing her name
Yep.
tag tonight, but yeah. So, but we're all related. So with that, we will say good night, and may your lives be more peaceful, more gentle, and may that calmness fill your heart and your mind.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Aho.
So, yeah.